Today we're diving into some of the biggest immigration updates coming out of the United Kingdom, as Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood unveils a new series of announcements that could reshape the country's immigration landscape. The Labour government has been signalling major changes for months, and now we're finally seeing the direction they intend to take. If you're living in the UK, planning to migrate, or simply trying to understand what's going on, stay with us as we break down the latest developments. For years, the UK has struggled with increasing numbers of people entering the country without proper documentation. Officials say the system is being exploited, and the UK has become a centre for those attempting to bypass legal routes entirely. The Labour government claims that the current moment marked the beginning of a more serious effort to enforce existing laws and strengthen border protection. Previously, the government announced changes relating to refugees, particularly around long waiting periods before being eligible for permanent residency. But despite these policies, millions of people still attempt to reach the UK illegally every year. According to the Home Office, one of the key measures in the latest plan is a major tightening of settlement options. Refugees arriving in the UK will no longer receive long-term visas. Instead, they'll be issued temporary visas lasting up to 2.5 years. After that period, their situations will be reviewed. Authorities will look closely at the conditions in the refugees' home countries. If the danger that caused them to flee still exists, their visas may be extended. But if the government determines that the situation has stabilised, then officials will move to deport individuals quickly if they're found to be violating rules or no longer eligible. This is part of a broader effort to create fast-track procedures for anyone who enters the UK illegally. The Home Secretary emphasised that while the UK remains an attractive destination, arrival without the correct documentation will be treated as a serious offence. Illegal entrants will not be able to stay, and their cases will be decided much faster than before. This is a major shift from previous systems that often took years to process. Even with the stricter system in place, there is still a path to permanent residency, or PR, for some. After 5 years, if individuals have resolved their legal and personal situations, and if they have complied fully with the rules, they may be granted PR. This includes the possibility of reuniting with their families, but there's a big legal condition attached. The UK must stay aligned with the principles of the European Convention on Human Rights, particularly Article 8, which protects the right to family life. The government is drafting new policies to reflect these obligations, while still maintaining tighter control over who can settle in the country. But for now, refugees are not allowed to bring family members from abroad. This has been one of the most contentious issues in immigration court. Lawyers frequently argue that refusing family reunification is unfair, and many complaints have been made about the current rules. However, the government insists that changes are coming, especially regarding intermediate family members. While some exceptions already exist, officials say the rules must evolve to prevent abuse while still respecting human rights law. Many immigrants and asylum seekers see a UK visa as a golden ticket, a chance to build a safer and more prosperous life. But the government is making it clear that there will be no relaxed rules, no new shortcuts, and no additional special announcements right now. Instead, they are refocusing the country's immigration system on national security. The Home Secretary stressed that unprotected borders lead to increased risk, and that the government must take every step possible to shield the UK from illegal entry and organised crime. A major concern raised in the recent announcement is the rise of illegal human trafficking gangs. These criminal networks profit from smuggling migrants into the UK, often through dangerous routes like small boat crossings. The government says it is prioritising action against these gangs. Refugee applications will be processed more quickly, and in cases where claims fail, deportation will follow swiftly. Additionally, there is talk of implementing a visa ban on individuals from countries with low vaccination rates or inadequate health systems as part of a new public safety measure. Interestingly, while the government tightens some areas, it is also exploring more flexible systems for others. For example, there are plans to arrange loans and special travel arrangements with 3 countries: Angola, Namibia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. These arrangements may include visa-free visit for certain travellers. There is also discussion about VIP visas for high-profile visitors and new policies to make business travel easier. But despite these more open pathways, the government remains firm in its stance on illegal entry and the need for deportations. As Christmas approaches, the government has finally provided clearer guidance on who can expect to qualify for PR by the end of the year. Despite stricter rules, the UK still remains a major tourist destination and a popular choice for legal migration and long-term settlement. But under the new approach, every applicant's background will be thoroughly reviewed. Criminal history, involvement in illegal activities, and any links to organised crime will result in immediate refusal. Officials argue that these measures are necessary to protect the UK from trafficking gangs and criminal networks that threaten community safety. The government is finalising the new PR rules and continues to emphasise that contributing positively to the UK will be essential for those seeking long-term residence. In fact, one of the most significant changes announced is the requirement that refugees must wait 20 years before becoming eligible for PR. This is an enormous shift from previous policies, and it will be one of the toughest settlement processes in UK history. Only those who meet strict criteria will be approved, and anyone who enters illegally will be automatically disqualified. Another major factor in eligibility is language ability. Speaking English is now considered a key requirement for adapting to life in the UK. Those who cannot speak English are likely to struggle with integration. The government says it spends millions each year on translation services for people who do not speak the language, and this cost has become unsustainable. They argue that newcomers need to be able to communicate effectively, not only to reduce government spending, but also to participate meaningfully in society. A related concern raised by the government is the exploitation of the UK's benefit system. A growing number of newly arrived immigrants, often with children, apply for housing benefits and council accommodation despite not being legally entitled to these services. Some asylum seekers have received PR after winning their cases in court, but the government believes that the UK lacks sufficient legal tools to manage this consistently. As part of the coming reforms, accessing benefits unlawfully will significantly reduce a person's chances of ever obtaining PR. Work visa holders are another group being closely monitored. Under current rules, they are not allowed to claim benefits. However, many individuals have found loopholes or ways to indirectly exploit the system. The government says this must stop immediately. There are early discussions about introducing financial liability measures that would make it harder for individuals to misuse public funds. Child benefit is one of the programs under the closest scrutiny, as it has been heavily accessed by people who are not legally eligible. For refugees, understanding what benefits they can legally access is crucial. Those who follow the rules will not necessarily need PR, and the government intends to enforce existing laws strictly. But there remains a huge gap in the system, especially concerning millions of people who cannot work and depend heavily on government support. This creates friction between immigration policy and human rights obligations, particularly when vulnerable individuals are involved. Despite criticism from human rights organisations, the Home Secretary argues that respecting the UK's laws is essential. Criminal gangs that ignore these laws make the streets unsafe, and the government claims that strong action is needed to stop organised crime from manipulating the asylum system. Arriving illegally, officials say, goes against the national interest. The new reforms are designed to address these issues by closing loopholes and ensuring that the system cannot be exploited. The opposition has responded sharply. The Reform Party, led by C.I. Yusuf, claims that if these laws were truly necessary, they could be implemented quickly and easily. They argue that Labour is moving too slowly and not taking strong enough action. But the Labour government faces a complex political landscape, and introducing strict immigration laws requires support from MPs across Parliament. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood insists that strict visa rules are essential for the future of the UK. She emphasises that these rules will only work if the entire political system supports the changes. Immigration reforms are now moving through Parliament, and each new distinction, requirement and restriction adds another layer to what is becoming one of the most significant overhauls of UK immigration law in decades. As these new rules develop, One thing is clear: the UK is entering a new chapter in its approach to immigration. Whether you're already here, planning to visit, or dreaming of settling permanently, the landscape is shifting rapidly. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates as they come. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.